He's officially the AD, but I'm covering if he's not here.
You count for minutes. Still for a couple more hours at least.
Right. Yeah, I should be removed from all the mailing lists and stuff by the end of the day. So my mail volume will go down a lot.
Yeah. All right, according to this, it's time, and Alexi has arrived, so we have all the people that we need to present things, I hope. Welcome everybody to the final day of the virtual meeting. It's Saturday the 13th for me, but it's the 12th for everybody else, I think. No one else has stayed up this late here. The extra session, we have an hour. By now, I'm sure we have all seen this note well very many times and noted very well. If you have any questions, please ask. This is the agenda that I've put together for an hour. Does anyone have anything you want to change, add, remove to this list? I see a shortage of hands, so let us move straight on to IMAP 4, which is Alexi. Hello, Alexi, I can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, now I hear you.
Yeah, sort of on the previous slide, I was looking through my notes for 109, and I think I volunteered for the CF Action IANA registration draft.
Yep.
So I haven't done anything until today, but I have some bare bone of the document now.
Oh, cool. Awesome. I have noted that in there. And you're on now. Well, you and Barry are on.
All right.
I'm at 4 Rev 2.
Next slide. Apologies. Yeah, this is just a reminder for the process that was followed. Minimize changes for the make it life easier for clients, and minimize changes for the servers from IMAP 4F1. Next slide. Right, there has been 10 revisions since last meeting. A lot of them in response to ISG reviews and various other comments. I'm just trying to summarize things here for people who haven't been paying attention. One of the things that I realized based on ISG review and slightly late document cycle is that although the document mentioned IMAP-S, IMAP over TLS port, it didn't segregate requirements between clear text and TLS port. Like some capabilities only apply on a clear text port, for example. I think this has been done over several revisions.
Ron, can you mute this?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, my old clacky.
Yeah, a bit.
I think I have the wrong microphone in that case. There we go. You should have the correct microphone now. I don't know. Yeah, go on. I will mute myself.
All right. Next change. This is actually, I probably should have included this cert number, but there is a well-known issue with some TLS implementations where if clear text data is pipelined in some cases, it can be interpreted as if it was received under TLS. Arguably, this is a bug, but the document now describes in more details how to prevent this. So hopefully interop is going to be much better in this area. And there was a few changes explaining a bit more how IMAP for Rev1 and Rev2 can coexist on the same port. What it means, which commands need to be issued to trigger IMAP for Rev2 behavior. Then there was a long outstanding item about making body part and message sizes 63-bit. So this was integrated finally. And then there was some cleanup of copy and move command requirements on that they don't create target mailboxes by default. I think some servers in the past had a bug in this area, and it was a should. So this was tightened a little bit. Next slide, please. Daniel Migo in SecDir review found out quite a few things, and one of them was the list of TLS 1.2 ciphers wasn't actually correct and didn't quite agree with RFC 7525 recommendations, so this was fixed. He suggested further changes. I wasn't quite comfortable doing them. I'm not sure what the right answer is. Realistically, I think in this case is IMAP servers and clients will just do whatever the underlying library does. So, and many libraries support like both TLS 1.2 and 1.3, so they sort of work out of the box in this reasonable sense. But if people have an opinion, there is probably still a chance to tweak it. And then there were quite a lot of security considerations, actually. So Art Gulbrandsen and I received a private email about enable, pointing out that it was marked as allowed in a different state that it was in the description. So description didn't match ABNF. And they also reported various issues with injections of various responses if TLS is not negotiated, and how different clients and servers behave. So this was quite educational. In particular, they had some tests where they were injecting list responses before authentication, and clients were happily displaying all the mailboxes received, even though the user is still not logged in. There were two things which were particularly troubling, and there is extensive text on this. One is researchers pointed out that pre-auth response actually, if it's returned, then it will force the client to bypass start TLS, because it moves the client and the server to the authenticated state, and start TLS is not allowed in authenticated state. So unless the client insists on TLS being used, so either it has to be directly on IMAP passport, or the client discovers that it received pre-auth and then say, well, I'm not happy with that, then I have to disconnect. This is rather troubling. Another similar example was about alert response codes. In particular, not to pick on Outlook, but Outlook does display alerts, and it does URL highlighting, linking. So if alert is sent with the URL, and this can be done before start TLS issued again, then the user can be tricked to follow URL. For example, your server has detected that your client is out of, or your OS is out of date, please download this service pack or whatever. And, users have been tricked by this. So again, there is text saying, before start TLS, ignore all alerts. I think it probably should, so unless you really know what you're doing, basically. Any questions, comments on this?
Yet again, we were seeing what a bad idea start TLS is. Connect to the SSL port, negotiate your security layer first. There's so many things that have been caused by this, including clients that will just send the credentials in the plain text if the server rejects the start TLS attempt. This has been seen in the wild very many times.
Yeah, I mean, if people implement start TLS properly, but I suppose it's easy to make mistakes.
Yeah.
I suppose in the future we can consider whether we want to deprecate clear text, port, IMAP, and start TLS altogether. But I think realistically at this point, we're probably not quite ready for this.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly not for this.
All right, let's have a look at the next slide. Yeah, this was actually raised a week or so ago. I think people were asking what is the meaning of .mime for leaf body part, and like Defcode and Cyrus give different results. I think realistically we should say that client should never ask for this because it's not valid, but so maybe this is something that can be clarified. Next slide. So yes, the document is in RFC editor's queue. I've just got, Barry and I received questions from Mariana about updating various registries, and we also found various minor bugs, like capability response code wasn't actually registered in the response code registry, and it wasn't marked as valid for IMAP 4F1. So that was nice to fix. At this point, yeah, I think we need implementations. I suspect there will be people will be submitting bugs at some point. So maybe in a year or so, depending how many bugs and how soon people submit.
Yeah, there's a concern that we'll wind up in the same kind of place that vCard 4 wound up, which is that it exists and it's a better spec than vCard 3, but everyone's still using vCard 3 because of inertia.
Well, so, yeah, in a way, this is a slightly different problem in the sense that now it's a good time to organize interops and try to promote it.
Yep. Is my keyboard still loud?
No.
Great. I guess it did switch then. It threw up an error, too many microphones or something as I tried to switch, but then it seemed to work. So good. I can type and talk. Cool. Thanks, Alexei. So, I mean, there's nothing really for us to do here other than be aware of where we're up to. RFC editor has it. Do you need anything from this group other than interop?
No. Maybe we can organize something for hackathon in summer or something.
Cool. All right. Well, you're on for the next one as well, because next is the quota extension.
Yes. Next slide, please. Yeah, next slide. So, yeah, I've done a quick revision. Sorry it took me so long, but I was sort of tied up with IMAP 4F2 itself. So I added clarification saying that this quarter can work with either IMF4F1 or F2. Updated examples to use .example domain. I think it was cut and paste from Mark Crispin's RFC, so it was using wrong domain. Some minor clarifications. Added a small sentence saying that disclosing personal quarters to anonymous users can disclose information about status of various resources, which is probably not a great idea. And finally, there was an issue with overquarter space tag variant, where tag was actually it required characters which cannot be used in response code, like closing square brackets. So I think, even though it would be nice to have it, I think consensus last time was that just take it out. And I had explanatory text saying that in some cases it can be ambiguous whether it applies to the current mailbox or to the target mailbox, but this is probably not going to be very common, both because of situation is going to be rare, as well as the soft quarters are probably not very likely to be used in general.
Cool.
I think with that, it's ready for working group last call.
It's been in working group last call, and the only comments were about the over quota, so I don't know if we need to do another last call.
Fine, then
does anyone else here think that we need to do a last call, or should I just ship it? Give people a couple of seconds to hop in the queue if you have any comments about needing another working group last call. They're probably all asleep. All right.
Okay, so Murray will be getting the shepherding report very soon then.
Awesome. Hello, Murray.
Roger.
Cool. Next up, back in these slides, it's me, Civ Mailbox. It's basically ready to go, but one issue that came up was that there was some ABNF in the document, and I removed it in the revision 07, which is the current one based on the reviews. But there's questions about should it be added back. I'm leaning towards there being no point based on this. I reviewed a bunch of all the Civ extensions that exist, and only a couple of them have any grammar. Most of them don't have any grammar at all. And of those that do have grammar, they don't specify everything in there. They just specify little bits. Ken?
2 points on this. I agree that there's no point in putting the ABNF back in for the majority of stuff, but I did note on the mailing list that the extension to FCC, as you wrote the ABNF there, is incorrect. It needs to be the FCC-ops token is what's being extended, not the entire thing.
Which is this slide. This is what I removed. So it's FCC opt that needed to be extended.
Correct.
Yep. Cool. Does anyone have any strong opinions about that it should be added back in, or should we just say let's leave it how it is?
I have weak preference for having ABNF or ABNF-like things, to be honest, but clear otherwise, I don't mind.
It's certainly incomplete if it does add to these. What are the productions, or what are they called, from the original Civ spec? There are many specs that have added to them but have not done the ABNF, so there's no one place that you can collect the full formal syntax that you need anyway. Murray?
I also have a weak preference for having it just because, you know, a specification should be formal, but I mean, I'm not going to die on this hill.
So the issue with the ABNF in general is the base civ spec was not written in such a way where new tests and actions can be easily added to the grammar. The grammar's there basically to say that a test is, I think it's an identifier or token or something, and same thing with the actions. And there's no way to easily add them. In fact, the base spec itself doesn't even add file into and discard and all the normal actions and tests to the grammar themselves. It just specifies it. Here's how you use the thing, but they are grammatically correct per the ABNF. Is essentially what's going on. There's a little bit of hand waving going on. So my point being, I'm not sure how to correctly add the new test and the new, in this case, tagged argument to the existing ABNF.
I'll have to add, as somebody who's written some Civ stuff, that when I wrote my documents, I found it hard to do the ABNF correctly and found it odd how we were having to do it. So I have mixed feelings, but I'm leaning toward leaving it out.
Many of those in the no grammar section had Barry as one of the authors, so I can see that you've run into that issue. All right, Murray. I think let's just talk. We don't need to bother with the queue.
Okay, all right. So I think just to be clear, my interpretation of what's left of the IESG review is not that you need to add this back, but more like, are you sure you meant to remove it? So
yeah, totally. That's what we're trying to work out here. Is it worth making the effort to try and add it back in?
And it would be good when we have the resolution to reply to Francesca's ballot and say that.
Oh yeah.
So tell her what the solution is and why.
Yep, I will do so.
I would like to actually separate two issues. One is having a BNF for new pieces of grammar, and the other one is for linking it to existing one. I think the latter, what Ken was talking about, and Barry, is probably less important than describing grammar for the pieces you specify in the document.
Yeah, maybe
when you say it's a test or action, people usually sort of can figure out, if they know the base civ spec, where to plug it into the parser, right?
8580. FCC is the one. Do we want tools? Whatever. The one that's probably interesting because it collects together some ABNF that we can work from. So in that case, extending FCC ops may be worth doing, but not bothering with the rest. All right, I'm happy to do that. I can put an extension to FCC ops, and I'll just put it back in the document where the correct part is. This one, sorry. Yep, so basically I won't bother extending test and tag because they are incompletely specified anyway, and that's not really the right way, but I'll change FCC to be FCC opt, and I'll put it in the correct place.
You may also want to add a comment in that part of the grammar that it cannot be used alongside a special use.
Yep. That includes for the FCC as well. Actually, can it? No, it can be used for FCC. It's create that it can't be used for.
No, I thought we determined that special use and mailbox ID are mutually exclusive.
I'll double check. All right. Yeah. Whatever the rest says, I'll align this with it.
If not, then the civ snoo spec is going to be incorrect.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Thinking back over it, that was the issue. Cool. All right. I think I have everything I need to go on with. I will issue a new version of the draft with FCC opts and with a note to say cannot be used with special use. Which then leads us to Civ Snooze. Ken, you're up.
I am up. Okay, next slide, please. So there weren't a bunch of changes in the most recent draft. Basically, I just implemented what we had discussed at 109. So as just recently discussed, this allows both mailbox ID and special use to be used in the same snooze action because we determined last time that they're mutually exclusive from one another. I also stipulated that the snooze action cancels implicit keep under the logic that snooze is very similar to file into, and it should have the same disposition as file into does. I also removed the text about how this can be implemented using future delivery, SMTP future delivery, per our discussions, and so specify that implementations have to use a special snooze mailbox. This probably needs more text, and I would welcome any contributions in that area. As also discussed, I added a registration for the snooze special use attribute to that registry, which I think Barry created in one of his drafts. And finally, I added an example as requested of manipulating IMAP tags both at snooze time and awaken time. Those are the only changes so far. Next slide, I guess. If there's anything else that people have in terms of additions, changes, questions, bugs.
What's there is what we're running in production, isn't it?
Yes.
Is there any differences between the spec and what's live now?
I think the only spec might be the mailbox ID plus special use tags. I'm not sure if those are prohibited yet.
Cool.
I was kind of hoping Ned would be here because Ned had a lot of feedback in 109. I was hoping he may have read this and had some updates, but I guess we can take it to the list and probe for more feedback there.
All right.
If there's no remaining issues and people feel that the existing text around implementation guidance is sufficient, then we may be ready for a last call.
It feels to me like issuing a working group last call and seeing if anything pops up.
Fair enough.
Is probably right. Any further feedback on that? Anyone want to comment? There's at least a couple of people in here who haven't said anything.
I've read the early version, and I'm very happy with working group last call, so I can just double check and feel changed.
Cool. I mean, if stuff comes up in working group last call, we still have to deal with it, so it doesn't change much other than us thinking we're nearly there. Excellent. Cool. Thank you. Well, based on that, if we go back to these slides, we get to milestone review, but let's do this first. We have Civ EAI, which expired over a year ago now, or a year ago, and we've had the Civ Actions Registry, which hopefully Alexi will do soon, and that I imagine will go almost directly to working group last call, because the only question will be, is it comprehensive enough, really? Has it captured everything that exists? What do we do after that with this working group? Is there any new work that anyone wants to bring here?
Cannot think of anything. I probably can have a look at Civ AI in a couple of months. So now that I'm slightly freer with my other documents. And the only other thing, if IMAP 4F2 is to be revised, it would be nice just to have a working group in a dormant state for a bit. But
Yep.
Yeah, and adding and for Murray's consumption, when we chartered Extra, the intent was to have it stick around as a dormant working group when its work was finished, to pick up other email related things that crop up, because they do quite often. So probably the best thing to do is when we're dormant, we stay dormant rather than being closed.
quick point on Alexi's Actions Registry document. I assume we'd want to hold up snooze for that to be produced, and then they would go together as a group, or whatever the terminology is there.
I don't think you have to. I mean, realistically, if yours go in first, then mine has to just include snooze in the list, right? Or
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good point.
or we'll figure it out. I don't think it matters. Obviously, I encourage you to read my draft once I publish it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, this is the milestones we have. CVAI was going to be submitted now, but nothing's happened on it in the past year. So, and update charter. I don't know if we need to recharter. We've decided we don't need to recharter for managed civ. Obviously, we have extended civ, but that was within charter. I don't think there's any need to change our charter unless we were bringing additional work here.
Were there
So it's just
plans
a
to
matter of updating
update?
these milestones.
Were there plans to update managed civ? Is that why that's in the charter?
No, it was just if it's going to happen, then you're going to have to come back and recharter. It was basically we want to not have to pay attention to this if you're going to fiddle with managed civ. I think
Understood.
I wasn't involved in that discussion, but
Yeah, I think it was more speculative, just in case. If somebody wants to update it, then we'll do it here.
If somebody wants to update
Yep.
it, we'll push them towards JMAP civ instead.
Well,
Yep,
that's another
much
thing
better.
that sort of makes it now overtaken by events a little bit. But also, as the email co-chair, I think, well, all SMTP and email format and mine is likely to go to email core. Everything else is going to end up here, right?
yeah.
Not
All right,
talking
so-
about GKIM and DMARC, but yeah.
Yeah, there's enough other bits and pieces going on, aren't there? But anyway, so submit quota April 2020. Submit. I don't know why. Civ snooze is not on there. Oh yeah, adopt was done, but we hadn't set one for submit. But submit civ snooze is probably the same. And civ actions registry, looking to adopt in April, submit in July.
Yeah, I suspect we'll probably need at least one division just to make sure. Like, yeah, if I missed anything, what we want in the table, what kind of information. So that would be useful to have a look.
Yeah, that gives us time to I'll say submit August, and that means that we'll probably do the working group last call after next IETF. But I imagine we won't probably want to meet at next IETF unless there's a lot to discuss there, because it's this 1 hour we have used half of and we're already done basically.
I would be very,
We're not,
very happy if you last call the document before the next IETF, and then we'll just do it on the mailing list. So
Yep.
that's fine.
cool. I'll say July then. And yeah, Civ AI, EAI wasn't yours originally, Alexi, but if you wanted to take it on, obviously that would be fine. Do you think there's demand for it?
Well, I think implementations will slowly need to be updated for this. So I think just having a look at what's in the draft, I haven't looked at it yet, and see how much work it is.
Yeah, Alexei, I'll look at it with you. My sense is that because the uptake of EAI has been so low, it's unlikely that anyone would implement it. So it's a question of whether we want the suite to be complete for form's sake, or whether we really think anybody cares about this.
Yeah, it's like
I
like
guess I
our
would say if it turns out
MTA
not to
hasn't.
be a big deal to update it, then we can do it. But if it's going to be a lot of work, then it's probably not worth it.
Yeah, let's have a look and just to see how much work it is.
We'll talk later.
Hmm.
Cool.
And
Got a
actually,
bit of
this
text, but
the table of content works very well with Civ Action Registry, because you actually need to go through all the extensions and verify that whether there is any impact or not, right?
yeah. Yeah, cool. All right. Yeah, it looks like it's a fairly stub of a document at the moment. So, all right, that at this point, I have nothing else that's been given to me. Does anyone have anything else you want to discuss, or should we get our 24 minutes back?
Go socialize in Gather Town, maybe, or not?
Sure. Well, I've got to finish my BSL socialize for a few minutes, and then I'll go to bed. I think I'm skipping the last one. All right. Thank you, everybody. Probably won't see you in an extra meeting for a while at this stage. It looks like we're going to just finish off these documents and then go quiet. So thank you for hanging around with us for the past few years.
Okay.
And
bye, everybody.
yeah,
Bye.
really well done with all our documents. We have produced a lot of documents altogether. If we wait while this slowly loads, documents. Look at all those RFCs. All right. Thanks, everyone. See you.
All right. See you next time.